Hello everyone, Marty, thanks for Investors here today with you guys. My thoughts on Flash Today, episode 19, titled Negative Part 1. I didn't like this episode. I honestly am not liking this graphic novel. I just want the Flash to be better than this. So let's discuss some of the main issues with this graphic novel. So this graphic novel. So let's talk about this episode. Let's first talk about the first scene when Barry reveals his identity to Mina. Is Central City abandoned? Because here's the thing. For some reason, because it always feels like it's abandoned. Like remember, like if you've been watching season 4, I believe in episode 6 or 7. Yeah, episode 7. They say that there's like a million people or like a lot of people in Central City. Like hundreds and thousands and maybe even millions. So that makes it kind of obvious that, like, realistically, plus the Flash just showed up at that point. And do you think people are not going to hear that? Sorry, but I'm starting to think Central City is abandoned at this point. Like no one's living there. Obviously, there are people that leave Central City, but I still would say, hey, Central City now at this point is an abandoned area, even though even though it's not abandoned. I just don't believe Central City is a place at this point or a city anymore. So it's a big issue with the show is that there's no consistency anymore. Because back in season 4, they said that there's like a lot of people in Central City. Whereas in here, no one's here, apparently. So, yeah. 2, another issue I had is the negative forces. We literally all predicted that at one point that we will see the negative versions of the Sage still in Strength Force because episode 3 mentions the negative Still Force. So, let's be honest, we all predicted that at one point it would have been the negative Still Force that would have helped Dawn. And Don Eobard or Wells Bar, as some people call him, gets control again, which we all predicted will happen because next week literally shows him again. Now, this is possibly the stupidest moment in the episode. So Iris, and by the way, this is a huge spoiler. So Iris dies by getting hit by lightning. What? I'm taking time to process, but that is possibly the stupidest way of like being written off. Look at the way Iris died in season 3, or supposedly was supposed to be dead. She was stabbed in a fatal area by Savitar, and it actually was, I think, around the heart area. So, much more understandable as to why Iris is dead in season 3 than say here. It's like, what's next? Barry dies just from washing dishes? I mean, I wouldn't buy that happening in season 9. I feel like the reveal that the time sickness is negative tachyons was kind of obvious because the time sickness, I always predicted that maybe the time sickness is related to the negative Still Force, which in theory relates to Cobalt Blue. But turns out I was dead wrong because Cobalt Blue had nothing to do with the negative Still Force, even though realistically it actually would make kind of logical sense that the Cobalt Blue is kind of connected to that. Because, being honest, yeah. And I always said that maybe Taylor Downs from the Allegra episodes this season, like Allegra's like apparent arch enemy at CCC Media, would have been like Cobalt Blue. even then, I still feel like that would have been a much more shocking reveal than say, oh, Matt Letcher is back. Like, because why not? I feel like the reveal that the Taylor Downs actually was a meta and actually had the negative still force in her and was actually the main host, like Dion, would have been a much more shocking reveal. Because here's the thing, Taylor Downs, you don't see a lot of her in a season. But every time she does have a strong, it's typically to do with Allegra. So I always thought maybe they're setting her up to become Cabal Blue. Maybe she knows she's Barry Allen's sister, maybe Barry just doesn't realize it yet, or maybe, yeah. But I always predicted that Cabal Blue would have been Taylor Downs because it kind of makes sense and it actually kind of is shocking. But no, apparently not. There's no Cabal Blue in this season. Apparently Taylor is just an ordinary reporter who has a lot of anger issues, like P. Anderson. Jesus. Now, yes, and even then, Mina was not that great in this episode. Let's be honest. Because even though I do like the few times I've seen her, I realized because here's the thing. Last week, she became the negative Flash because she didn't listen to Barry. It's like Barry Allen, the Flash I meant. Or Barry Allen is the Flash, whatever. Here's the thing, Barry is an experienced speedster. You should literally ask him for her. Plus, and I know Mina is asking Barry to train her, but here's the thing. I feel like Barry should have said something like, to Mina saying, don't worry, I was exactly like you. I made the same mistakes like you in this episode. Because it would imply that he understands what she's going through. Plus, why does Mina even want to become a speedster? Now, in the comics, she becomes a speedster because of the Speed Force storm, which creates Godspeed in the comics. Which is understandable because she didn't even want to become a speedster. She literally became a speedster. And I think the thing is, they clearly wasted the Speed Force storm in season 3 at the end of season 3 when say Mina DeWan was in Central City at the time. Plus, when the Fast Track Labs showed up or was created, around the same time Star Labs was created or built. There's so many questions you literally don't have answers to. And you see what I mean? So I might say this is easily the worst episode of the season for me personally. I really am struggling to find enjoyment in this graphic novel. I just want the Flash to be better. Look at the Goldface episode. I actually really enjoyed that episode. Really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. You had Goldface, one of my favorite villains. Why not have Chillblaine as be the villain of this graphic novel? Chillblaine makes far more sense than Eobard Thawne and the Negative Forces. Because Chillblaine makes sense. He was a villain beforehand. He's very personal to Team Flash. And just him dealing with Frost's death could literally drive him down a dark path. And obviously, in this point, we got Caitlin got into a chamber, which she and Chillblaine built, which, by the way, I predicted a few times that maybe Caitlin will actually die by that point because the experiment goes wrong. She dies, obviously making Team Flash extremely grief. Etc. So overall, I'm gonna give this episode an L. I am really struggling to enjoy the show, or this season at least, this graphic novel, and I hate that. I really enjoy. This is one of my favorite shows, and I hate when I have to be incredibly negative on the show, especially because I've been getting a lot of hate just because I'm not enjoying the show at this point. So let me know what you thought of this episode down below, and as always, I'll see you next time. Good.